Hey,
All
folks.
right.
Great
Wait,
to
Weston,
see
hang on,
you.
Bill. Wait, Weston,
I'm
he has to
waiting.
make it formal and
Yes.
introduce us very
I'm
formally.
waiting.
Hit it,
Oh, it
Weston.
started. Look, it started. Yep. Welcome to today's Microsoft
Hold on,
National
hold on,
Office Hours. How
hold
about
on.
that?
Wait,
My
Bill, now I'm
name.
gonna have to
we
edit
have
this
hired
whole
help.
beginning.
Yeah, we
Okay,
Bill.
have
you
hired
do
help
it.
for that. Okay.
What
Okay.
Weston does Weston is he's the voice from beyond because he has the best mic.
Do
So
it.
he sets us up.
Do it.
Welcome, everyone, to MS Office Hours. It's Thursday, March 6th. Let me please introduce our hosts.
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Cox.
Hi there, Stephanie Stevens.
And we are
And-
so thrilled to
I know.
have with us today
I was
the
waiting for Garrett.
Honorable Bill Bales
The
and
honorable.
Responsible AI. Bill, this
Yes.
is your show now.
You bet. Thanks, folks. It's really nice to be here. My name is Bill Bales. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I am a principal customer success account manager. And I work with the Southeast Select higher ed institutions. And so that includes several from Alabama and also Mississippi. We're going to talk a couple things today. I want to talk first a real brief history about where we are from an AI perspective, from where we started years and years and years ago, probably before most of us were even little tykes, to today. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about responsible AI. So today we look at AI with speckled glasses, I would say. It may seem that we're entering a new era with AI, but several milestones came into play in the field over the last about 60 years or so. So if we talk about a brief history, it was a long storied history that started back in the 50s and even probably a little bit before that. There was a focus primarily around symbolic AI, which involved creating symbolic representations of knowledge and using them to help solve problems. So researchers developed early versions. They called them expert systems back then. And it was a computer program that mimicked decision-making abilities of human experts in a specific domain, say a specific science or a specific field. Then in the 1970s and 80s, AI research began to shift away from symbolic AI, and it was more sub-symbolic, which involves using statistical methods and even mathematical models. And what that did was it added a new layer to process large amounts of data quickly, because with symbolic AI, it was way too complex and really difficult to scale. Then we moved into the 1990s and 2000s. I know I'm pushing the fast forward button pretty quickly, but as AI research continued to evolve, there were several new subfields that started to emerge. Those things started around things like machine learning, which focus on creating algorithms. Those allowed computers to form data without being explicitly programmed. And also the term neural networks came out in that time, which was really a mathematical model inspired by the structure of our brains. It functioned like the human brain. Eventually, and most recently, we hear things like generative models, GPT-4, for example, or DALL-E, even variational autoencoders or generative adversarial networks. That's a tongue twister for you. And many more of those types of topics and issues have come up recently to advance the field of AI. Those in particular are models that are able to generate new examples. So it takes some set of data, such as natural language processing from a data set, and it would use diverse fields such as computer vision, speech recognition, and the natural language processing to develop new examples from that data set. We've come a long way since the 1950s. But here's the deal. I added this little blurb at the bottom of the slide. I hope you can see it on your slide. It says 2024 and beyond. I titled this phase of our AI journey as universal scaling. We've seen unprecedented growth in the amount of data that we've generated, trillions and trillions and quadrillions of bits and bytes that have been generated over the years. But I also noticed that we're seeing hyper personalization. Make the AI about me. What can I get out of AI? What can my children, what can my students, what can my school, what can our nation do with AI? Tons and tons of dollars have been spent. Billions and billions of dollars go into new chips. We've seen that in the headlines lately about our administration wrestling with the fact that we can't make them fast enough. Where's the GPUs is the question. And data center expansion, including restarting nuclear plants. So if we look at the types of AI, this is a visualization. For those of you who can't see it very well, in the center is an artificial intelligence hub. And from there, we see different sciences or different use cases around AI. So for instance, you can see things for computer vision or robotics or optimizing sets of data actually very different industries around the world. Components of AI include planning, communication, actions. What do I do next based on this set of data? There are different types of artificial intelligence itself, super, general, and narrow. The field is broad, but here's the question. And we get into a point where we say that's all great, fine, and dandy. But what about ethics? How do we use all of that in a responsible way? So you've heard the buzzwords of responsible use or policies around artificial intelligence, and I hope that you've embraced those rather than shunned them. We're going to talk a little bit today about Microsoft's view of responsible AI. As AI is advanced responsibly, it ripples throughout the impact around the globe. We've seen it divide economies. We've seen it rip apart societies in some areas, while at the same time, the AI deliberately helps folks. I want to give some examples of what that might look like as we look into how we approach AI through a Microsoft lens. In Alberta, Canada, AI is revolutionizing the wildfire management and mitigation. They've set up cameras throughout different areas of a province, and they were able to detect wildfires when they first start, and it triggers alerts throughout the regions. That helps not only with the alert system, but it helps with notification for the public. Not only that, but then they can gather resources that are local. All that can happen through Microsoft Azure machine learning. That's how this province in Alberta was using it. And also in Iowa, here's an interesting one. One of the local communities there used Microsoft Azure supercomputer using OpenAI, and it's using the city's farmlands and rural roads to map what are the best ways and uses of the farmlands. And basically what it does is now it enhances productivity and cybersecurity. And what that eventually will do is it'll spur economic growth in the community, and while helping develop the infrastructure that this community can help manage best. It's not only pushing the boundaries of technology innovation there, but it's also contributing to societal well-being. One more example. In India, there's an AI-driven chatbot that helps this particular, I'm going to butcher the name, so please forgive me, Jugalbandi is a village, and they have access to government assistance programs to build a bot that helps translate information from English into their local dialects. Now that's not revolutionary, but here's what is it's expanded now to cover multiple languages and numerous government programs. All of this helps democratize technology. It's potentially revolutionizing access to legal rights and services that those citizens have the ability to use while breaking down language barriers. Okay, so here's a question. There was a study that the University of Queensland and KPMG conducted last year, and it recognized that 73% of folks in this study are wary about trusting AI systems unless there is some application that allows for a trust to be built in using ethical and responsible use. In other words, if we just let it go, 73% are pretty nervous about it. But 75% in that study said if there's some framework around the AI, I can trust it. Here at Microsoft, we focus on commitments that we make to you as our customer, to societies and around the world, including earning your trust and bringing in you close so that you will participate in the same types of activities that we do using AI. And responsible AI is how we do so. Our commitment is to build AI systems that have ethics and responsible use standards built in. That means that what we design starts at the beginning of the process, so that what turns out that you and your users use, Copilot, Copilot Chat, Copilot Studio, anything in our AI Foundry suite, those things are built with responsible AI built in its design. So I want to walk through what that framework looks like. First, let's do some time frame on this. It's not new. Our responsible AI journey is not new. It's something that we've done over a long period of time, many years actually. And it began from some early ideas when we did some research to the point where we operationalized it today. And we feel absolutely prepared to meet this moment that we're sitting in. I've recently sat in some conversations with a customer who wants to embrace quantum computing. That's a huge subset of information that many folks are ignorant about. Even scientists are ignorant. And I'm not saying that in a negative sense. What I'm stating is that there's a sense that we don't know. We don't know what's out there. So when we build the solutions around things like quantum computing, we design those with responsible AI in mind. And in the past year, you've probably seen more and more announcements from us, Copilot, Copilot Chat, put the name of Copilot and anything in there, even add the 365, and you'll see that those types of products, that when they come out, have the responsible AI tooling built in. And we are committed to making that part of our ecosystems. We do so by driving six AI principles. And you'll see those listed on this screen. And those are, for example, fairness and inclusiveness, which demands folks being participatory in the AI tool itself. But it's just as important as we consider generative AI as other tools as well, like AI and ML activities, where some interventions need to be involved to identify and address those types of fairness and quality statements. I'll read these quickly to you. Fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency and accountability. Transparency and accountability are two of my favorite pillars in these principles. We will share with you what we find, and we are accountable to change things when we find issues or problems or concerns with our tools. And we do listen. So if you do have areas of concern with any of the tools that you're seeing, not just with AI, bring them to us. We want to hear what that is. We are accountable for what we produce and send out to you folks. In the past year or so, you've seen Microsoft launch all these new Gen AI products. You can buy them, you can build them. There is a foundation though. And what we've been doing over the last several years is operationalizing responsible AI to make strong governance mechanisms in place so that when we do deliver them, they again are built by design. Another answer is through Azure AI. And since we've been able to get early access to OpenAI's GPT models a few years ago, we've been pouring our own research and learning into the tools that we provide using Azure AI solutions as a common development platform that we built for our first party build of Copilots, for example. What does that mean for you? Well, this means that Azure AI is already pressure tested, and it continually is getting updated with cutting edge tools, with the rigor and the process of making sure that it is bulletproof, soundproof, if you would, from the outside noises and also the inside noises of threats. What that looks like, threats are, is that it introduces new risks. So when GPT-4 first came out, we brought together a group of experts and we wanted to test the technology and understand what the benefits were going to be. This was a new technology, and so we started to re-engineer or reverse engineer some of the coding that we saw there. We also started digging into the potential risks of what that might mean. First category of risks that we found was a quality of application. So is this good enough to be publicly used? You've maybe even read some stories in the news headlines lately that some of the most recent technology is not reliable. Now, I'm not saying it's not Microsoft. I'm not saying it's Microsoft tools. I've read that there are other tools and other companies that are not as reliable. But we decided that the rigor that we put into our own internal use and something that we put into your hands needs to have that rigor. We wanted to ensure that the application wasn't producing errors or what people call hallucinations. You've heard that before, I know. And all that means is that it adds additional or incorrect information than what should show up. It's just kind of making stuff up. We also need to make sure that our systems are robust against any adversarial attacks that come. This could be like a jailbreak. Point number 2 there. That's when a user tries to manipulate or confuse the system to get it to produce something that it shouldn't have produced, or even using something like prompt injection attacks, where an attacker can embed code or hidden instructions into the prompt so it can find the data sources and emails and documents in our own systems. We also look at harmful content. Folks, I'm gonna leave this slide up for a moment. All of us have heard horror stories about teenagers using AI in inappropriate ways. We've heard it. You probably know somebody, or you know somebody who knows somebody. It's close to us. Fake videos or fake pictures of folks, very negative. There was even a student who fell in love with an AI agent. Literally, they fell in love. And through conversing with this AI agent, that's all it was technology, the agent decided that this person was mentally unstable and should kill themselves. And they did so. When is it okay for a system to be talking and acting like a human when it should not when it should prevent and protect psychological damage? Terrible situations. We're committed to making sure that our systems are built by design that have protections in place. Now, that said, how a user interacts, we cannot control. You cannot control that at your institution either. But deciding these questions is part of the framework that we have when we build the tools for use. One of the things that we did in 2023 is we built a responsible AI standard, and that formalized a set of generative AI requirements that we build ourselves that have rigor and standards and operationalized protections built into it. And what we did is we used the National Institute for Standards and Technology, it's called NIST, down at the bottom of the slide there. We used their AI risk management framework. I'd like to talk about this in depth and just kind of gloss over some of the major, or some of the details, but go in and talk about how NIST framework could also help you as an institution as you build your own tools. Say, for instance, there was someone in the chat, I think it was you, Steve, mentioned that you wanted to talk about Copilot Studio. Once we give you the AI framework, then you can build on top of it. As you build new tools for your institution, students, faculty, staff, however you want to build those, consider these as part of the framework. We do here. So I'm going to walk through this diagram again, at a high level. At the center of the NIST framework, AI Responsible Framework Standards, is govern. Governance is really contextualizing the map, the measure, and the manage processes around delivering AI solutions. We at Microsoft implemented the policies and practices and encourage a culture of risk management across all of our development, all of the tools that we have here. Our policies and principles, our roles and responsibilities that we build as folks access the tools, we consider those. Also, we, at the core, are security and privacy and data governance. We put into place the ability for you to draft your own governance policies and then apply it to the tools that you use. And then also, we try to work through our documented processes internally here. We suggest you do the same. Just document what you do. That's all you need to do. Just go through and make sure that it's all recorded about how you made the decisions that you make. That will help with transparency and accountability, my two favorite pillars of principle in the tooling. We build internally a risk management culture. That is very important to us. We want to be risk adverse. We want to be able to mitigate risk as soon as we see them and then correct so that we don't run into those risks going forward. What we did then is we drafted a set of policies. So in our 6 AI principles that I shared with you, that's our foundation of our governance framework internally. And we took those values to guide everything that we do. And what that means for you is that we uphold our own AI principles and then share those out. And we can do those through practicing, giving you the tools that you need, and also through education. So we built, I'm looking at my big screen here. I'm not moving away from and looking at the internet. The Microsoft Responsible AI Standard, we have a general requirements document that we use. And if you're interested to know more, reach out and we can let you know. At the top of the triangle in the NIST AI Responsible Framework is MAP. And what that means is that we map risks first. In other words, we take steps towards measuring and managing those, including anything we create generative AI wise. We map those to help inform decisions about our planning, about our migrations, about anything that is appropriate in a given context. We want to make sure that we can trace throughout our programs, solutions, and tools how we got there, and make sure that throughout the process, our responsible and AI standards are involved. One of the ways we did so is by creating an impact assessment. This is a framework that we would suggest that you consider in your own tooling, in your own development, whether it's a small agent or it's a larger language model build out using some of our AI Foundry infrastructure, or even machine learning in research. Let me just walk this through quickly. There are 5 different practices and tools that we use in an impact assessment template. And in this template, we use this ourselves. We guide folks that are developers to help walk through how to map out and then measure different areas of risk. We do a project overview together. We also try to build things fit for purpose. It's really cool to build stuff. It's really fun to build some new agents, something really great in the cloud. Anything using Microsoft is cool anyway, but if I build it and put my name on it, it's even cooler for some reason. But is it really intended for that purpose? So we make sure that the intended uses are defined. We also look at the adverse impacts. How is this going to be negatively used or could be negatively used? What are the data requirements? And then finally, what is the overall impact that we want to have with this tool? This again is an assessment that you can use as a template to provide guidance for you as you build out your own tooling. One area that we focused in on is around sensitive uses. And I touched on this briefly with the poor teenager who took his own life. But basically, we want to protect anything that impacts legal rights and life opportunities. We want to forego any kind of injury physically or psychologically. We take that very seriously. So we've defined processes internally that when we build something to deliver, that if it has a sensitive use case, we go through assessments like you just saw. Let me give you an example of how we protect data. You'll see on this slide that there are roughly 7 different areas that define how we use your data. Did you hear what I said? How we use your data? That's a lie. We do not use your data for anything. It is your data. You protect it. It's in your corporate world. You define the policies and definitions. We do not use your data at all for any of our own learning, any of our own models. It is your organization's data. You build the access controls. You build the policies that you've determined. We do not have access to any of that. We have delivered the tool to you. You use it. And after we deliver, it is all yours. Pretty important. How do we measure it? So we want to make sure that we're doing the right things. And the one way that we do measure it is we have a tool called Azure AI Studio Safety Evaluations. On this picture on the right, you'll see different categories of how we measure different areas of context. That includes sexual, that includes hatred, that includes things like self-harm. And you can test using this tool. It gives a really good, robust set of metrics that you can test the tool and the data for your modeling. I would recommend using something like this, if not this tool itself. The last area that I'd like to focus in on is the manage area. And that is where you can, using the NIST standards and framework, you will want to manage how people use it. Who's going to use the tool and how do they get the data? We drafted a Responsible AI Transparency Report in 2024. I would invite you to look at that. Some of the key takeaways is that we've released over 30 different tools around responsible AI with over 100 features. We did 33 technical notifications. We have a community of over 500 members that help with responsible AI. I'm a team champ for the education department here at Microsoft EDU US. And then we mandate that 99% or more of our teammates around Microsoft use responsible AI. Folks, we're running out of time. I'm going to jump through a couple more of these slides, but here's the biggest one that I want to do a takeaway for. I did a prompt and I said, with all of the information that we have out there, it is frustrating to try to discern what's best for me and my organization. And I would like you to generate an image that shows the frustration. This is what came out. And I used the text field. And it does not make sense. This does not make sense. Number one, I asked for digital, and you see the paper there. I think that's comical. It's also a Mac, so we have our own comments about that. But then you can't really read the words. The word spelling isn't right here. So let me translate it for you. The translation is, after spending 30 minutes creating a perfect prompt, I figured it out myself. The point is that I thought through enough. I spent 30 minutes trying to craft the perfect prompt, and yet through that, I thought through what I needed. So as a takeaway for our responsible AI and the activities as we build out these solutions, focus on the good that your tools are going to do. Then think about the best ways to do it and then deliver it. Folks, I do appreciate your time. I thank you. I just reached a little bit over. I do apologize for that. I'll turn it back over to our wonderful hosts, Stephanie and Heather.
Bill, that will be
Thank
10
you.
points from Gryffindor for going
Yes.
over your time, but that's all I got for you. But yeah, thank you, Bill. Thank you. We
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
that.
Yes. And we've also got lots of thank yous, and we want you back. So Bill, whether you like it or not, you're now being adopted into the Office Hours family. So get ready for the name change.
Oh,
So thank you again, guys. This will be posted as soon as we have it ready for you, and we will see you next week.
I'm gonna
Have a
kick
good one.
y'all out. Thank you, everyone.